Yo, guys, hey, what's up? It's your boy here, Ken. Talking about Andrade joining AEW. AEW was their post Double or Nothing episode show came on last night. Another episode of AEW being preempted to Friday. Personally, I thought they only have two episodes preempted, but it looks like moving forward they have like two more episodes that's going to be preempted. Another one next Friday, and then the one after that's going to be like on a Saturday, which is kind of weird. I think all these preempts for this long, 3 or 4 weeks in advance, I think is really going to hurt AEW's momentum ratings wise once they do go back to Wednesday. They can't move to TBS fast enough, being preempted for this long. I just don't think it's good for the company. Anyways, last night's episode I felt was kind of a little disappointing, a little uneventful to a degree, coming off of what I thought was one of the best wrestling pay per views this year, last weekend with Double or Nothing. But well, it's one of the pay per views I enjoyed since WrestleMania nights 1 and 2. But anyways, the one eventful thing that came out of this, I guess you could say, or surprise or talking point that everyone's talking about is Andrade. We know Andrade, former NXT United States champion, had a run at WWE. He left WWE. I think it was like January, somewhere around there in January, February. They ended up letting him go of his contract, and he is now all elite. Despite a lot of people, at least from what I've seen online last night, despite a lot of people always commenting saying, hey, AEW is taking the WWE rejects and their leftovers and blah blah blah. Surprisingly, the overall consensus of Andrade being all elite has been positive. A lot of people are really excited to see him there. A lot of people have been wanting him there. If there have been any negative comments or what have you, I probably haven't seen it. It's just probably been drowned out by the overwhelmingly positive reception of fans. My opinion. So I'm kind of like in between. So like there's a huge majority of people that love the signing. There might be a few, like I said, I have not seen any, but I'm sure there might be some out there that kind of like say like, what's the point? I'm kind of in between. Here's my overall take on Andrade, and I was going to mention this and talk about it when he had got released, but I just never got around to it. So I mean, I guess this, for all intents and purposes, is a good talking point to talk about it, as well as what we have now, or the information we have now of Andrade signing. Andrade is a guy who I feel is really talented in the ring. He is. He's a talented guy in the ring. I think Andrade looks like $1,000,000. But during his WWE run, from NXT, which you could say he was handled far better in that compared to once he got to the main roster, but even in the main roster, and him having a manager, which I think was the right thing to have, and him pairing him with Vicky Guerrero in AEW, I think is a good choice because she draws heat. Andrade, to me, I just kind of feel indifferent about. And I know, like, a lot of people, they like who they like or whatever, and that's completely fine. But I just feel like there's something missing with Andrade. Like I said, he wrestles great. He looks great. He looks like $1,000,000. He looks like a star. But there's something about him, and I think it's probably his personality-wise. I don't know. But it's something about his personality, or he doesn't come off as... He comes across as, like, a player, but not the player. You know what I mean? Like, a guy that you will put close to that main event spot, but you won't necessarily put him in that main event spot, if that makes any sense. And it has nothing to do with him. I know his English isn't the very best. I know it's a lot better now. From what I've heard, he's put a lot of effort into learning English, and he speaks it better now compared to several months ago, and that's great. But I don't know. If you go back to his WWE career, Andrade, to me, Andrade was already on the chopping blocks, even in WWE. Um, because going back to NXT when they were doing their round of cuts, Andrade was one of those people that they were going to cut. Andrade, I believe, if memory serves me right, only got the push that he got and made people have a second opinion of him when he had his back-to-back title feuds with Gargano, Joey Gargano, in NXT. Um, and I believe Andrade even said himself, because he has spoken on that as well, that if I remember correctly, he wasn't even supposed to win the NXT title against Drew McIntyre, because Andrade was McIntyre's first title defense, but McIntyre got injured. So at that point, they decided to just put the belt on Andrade. So because McIntyre, I think, had like a separated shoulder, and he was going to be gone for quite a while, for like months on end. So they ended up giving the belt to Andrade, and then Andrade ended up having his two matches that he had with Gargano, and that changed in the back everyone's perception of him in terms of the producers and whatnot, and kind of get a second look at him. I know for me, that's what really made me take notice to Andrade. I'm like, okay, this guy can go. Because before then, to me, I just felt he was kind of bland. When he beat McIntyre for the title due to McIntyre being injured, my initial thought was, okay, this guy's he's a little bland personality wise. He's probably going to be a transitional champion. Thought Gargano was going to get it from him, but no, he had those two outstanding matches with Gargano. At my point, he changed my opinion of him in terms of wrestling ability. And I'm like, okay, this guy is really good if he can step in there with Gargano. I'm like, okay, so they may have something here. Fast forward to main roster, Zelina Vega, like I said, has the package. Vega being his manager, great. Then WWE does what they always do. When they have something going with someone, they kind of just ruin it, and then they split them up. Or should I say, rather, they added a bunch of people. Instead of just being Andrade and Zelina, they added other people within the core faction, and then they split up that core faction, and then at that point, it was like sink or swim for Andrade, and Andrade was just Andrade was gone at that point. But you could say Andrade wasn't given a fair chance, and I definitely think he was not given a fair shake or a fair chance in WWE on the main roster. I mean, the guy was just sitting on his butt at one point. So to see him in AEW and him kind of prove the critics wrong, I definitely think it's great for him. To me, am I overly ecstatic as some of my friends are? Not really. To me, this is kind of like a clean slate. For Andrade, for me personally as a wrestling fan, kind of saying like, okay, WWE didn't give you a fair shake. I know there's something there. There's something definitely there, but WWE haven't given you the time or put you in the position to like really mold you and thrive to see how well or how far you could go. So let's see if you can do that in AEW. But I still have the exact same feeling that I had with him back in NXT. There's something missing with Andrade. Again, he looks like $1 million. He's got a good look. He is a great technician, in-ring technician. But there's something there for me that's just like, I can't buy him as a main event player yet. I don't. Everyone's ecstatic and I'm like, okay, cool. But to me, they're a little bit smaller in stature. But to me, Santino Escobar, the former NXT Cruiserweight champion, to me, comes across as a bigger star than Andrade. Angel Garza, who I know is kind of like half his size, Angel Garza, to me, has a little bit more of a personality. He's a good wrestler too, but he has a little bit more of a personality and has a little bit more of a charismatic swagger to him. And I guess that's basically what I'm kind of saying, really. Like, if I'm comparing Santino Escobar and Angel Garza to Andrade, what Escobar and Garza have in common, to me, they have that swagger to them. They've got a little bit of a personality and a little bit of suave to them. I'm not getting that from Andrade. I think they have a little bit more of a personality than Andrade. I don't think Andrade has much of a personality. Again, great wrestler, good look, but in terms of character, personality, that swagger, I'm not getting that from him. And if I were a company, I would hire an Angel Garza and put him in that spot. I'd hire a Santos Escobar and put him in that spot. Yes, these guys are a little bit smaller in stature, but to me they come across as having more of an overall appeal and total package to me. I feel, but needless to say, Garza is a good get for AEW. Regardless, I know it came in from Wrestling Inc. Yesterday that when Angel Garza's contract expired in March, Tony Khan and Garza and Andrade, excuse me, were in negotiations and talked immediately. Apparently, because Andrade, unlike a lot of people, Andrade for some reason never had a non 90 day complete clause in his contract. So if Andrade wanted to, for the week that he left WWE and he came into Dynamite a week later, he would not have been in breach of that 90-day non-compete clause because it didn't exist in his contract in WWE. But apparently from Wrestling Inc. here, they've been in talks with Khan and Andrade since March. Part of the negotiations was that Andrade had some demands, which included he wanted creative control and he wanted veto power on losing. There was a compromise made on that, and he will have limited amount of creative control on his finishes. Andrade also wanted to work for other companies outside of WWE. Also says here that Andrade was also in talks with Impact Wrestling as they were willing to guarantee part-time on his creative control demands, but they were too far apart on the number of dates he would be able to paid per date, not guaranteed downside, which is how a lot of recent Impact deals are constructed. And they were pretty close on a one-off appearance at one point. So basically, Andrade had some demands, as I'm sure you would, coming off from what he experienced in WWE. But basically, he wanted some creative control, and he wanted veto power on losing. So I'm guessing he probably didn't want to lose, and I think Tony Khan had to kind of like say, "Hold on, buddy, here, like." I'll give you some creative control, but you not ever losing, that's not going to work here. So I'm glad that they were able to compromise on that, because that would have been terrible. Because not just for if Tony Khan gave in to those type of demands, you can imagine anybody else who would either resign their contracts with AEW, or anybody else who's like a hot commodity coming into AEW, the type of demands that they would make if Andrade would make those exact same demands. But so apparently, like I said, this all comes from WrestlingInc.com, which is a viable source in the wrestling community. So yeah, he has limited creative power, but he has creative freedom, like most wrestlers in AEW do. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Andrade goes. I'm willing to kind of give him a chance. For me, this is like a starting over point for me for Andrade. Let me see what you can do. There's something there, yes. You weren't given a fair chance to see, whatever potential you have to have it grow. But now let's see what you can really do. Now that you're in a place that has, for all intents and purposes, a much better working environment, let's see you thrive. Let's see what Andrade can be as a star. Because right now, I'm not feeling it right now. You guys let me know what you think in the box below. Do yourself a favor, hit that like button, and subscribe. Peace out.